Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and with this video I kind of wanted to go a little more in depth with tactics and stats. And one of the things that in the last couple of videos I was talking about was ships that are strong versus ships that are weak. And you know, a lot of people think that simply by buying a Super Hornet that you're getting, strictly speaking, a better ship. No, what you're getting is you're getting a certain amount of guns, a certain amount of resiliency, a certain value for your money. And in the PU, when you're not spending actual real money, but when you're spending credits, you're going to expect that same return on the money you've spent. However, a ship like this, the Gladius, people might look at it and say, okay, if you have a Super Hornet, why do you have a Gladius? And the reason behind it is the Gladius, chances are, is going to be the more valuable ship in the PU, because I'm not sitting here and thinking about combat on an individual basis. I'm thinking of combat as part of a team. And my Gladius has LTI versus the Super Hornet, which doesn't. The Super Hornet, truth be told, is probably going to end up being sold or at least melted down for a deep space fighter, the Vanguard. Chances of me keeping this are probably 1 to 2%, unless there's something seriously wrong with the deep space fighter. I'm not going to be keeping this thing. I'm just, I've got it. The option is there, and I want to play with it. I want to try it out. I'm not sitting there and taking it and saying, okay, I want to get on the leaderboards and I want to be, the cool guy in the alpha test who's shooting down everybody in the arena. I don't even care about the arena. What I care about is getting the right ships in place so that when I get into the PU, I'm going to have certain advantages. That's why I own the Reclaimer, because I wanted an end game moneymaker. The reason why I have the Mustang Delta with a game package on it, I'm not buying that because I wanted a Mustang Delta. I bought it because I want the character slot that's going to come with it so that I can create my own NPC to be the gunner on my Deep Space Fighter and my Car 2. I mean, you look at a Mustang Delta and you think, okay, well, what's a Mustang Delta really capable of? Well, individually, Mustang Delta is capable of a lot. You can be flying the ship around. In the PU, you can be flying around in an asteroid field, and a single Mustang Delta, a single guy playing all by himself in a Mustang Delta, can be fairly strong. But if he gets together with other players and he gets organized, then all of a sudden it changes things. Like he can be out all flying by himself, and then all of a sudden he gets jumped by an Avenger, and so he books it out of there. What the Avenger pilot doesn't know is that the Mustang Delta probably knew that he was trolling around the area attacking people, and he's gone and he's used tactics. He's thinking outside of the box. He's organized. He's playing with other people. And so he's now pretending to run away from this Avenger, and he's basically making it look like he's running to ground. He's trying to find a place to hide, and the Avenger's just coming on strong because he thinks he's got this guy. What the Avenger doesn't know is that the Mustang Delta pilot, even though statistically he could probably stand a very good chance of winning that fight, he's stacked the odds in his favor, and he's got two other Mustang Deltas sitting in these asteroids waiting, and these guys have just been biding their time and trying to bait this Avenger out. The Avenger doesn't even know that, and that's where tactics come into play. And in the PU, individual statistics of ships, whether it has 6 guns or 3 guns or 2 guns, aren't going to matter so much when the Avenger gets ganked by 3 guys, because they're thinking outside of the box and they're thinking 2 steps ahead. He thought, he's going into that system, he's thinking, okay, I'm going to gank this guy, not realizing that because that Mustang Delta pilot, because he's communicating with other players and because he knows the lay of the land, he knows that Avenger's out there hunting people, and so he's setting him up. And that's, I think, going to be the most important thing in the PU. Is it's going to be the tactics that you employ and the teamwork that you employ and how you work together as a team is really going to be what makes you shine as a pilot. And it's not going to be so much dependent on whether you have a Super Hornet or a Gladius or a Car 2 or an Aurora. I mean, you could pull the same trap with an Aurora, where a Super Hornet sees an Aurora, he thinks, oh, well, this is going to take all of 2 seconds. But if the Aurora pilot has kind of tricked out his Aurora and he's at least got some really fast engines on the Aurora, then he can always just stay just that one step ahead to keep the Super Hornet interested and always make these kind of like wild maneuvers just to give that Super Hornet the impression that he's slowly closing the distance and he's going to kill this Aurora. But what he doesn't know is that the Aurora is leading him into a trap, and there's maybe 10 other pilots, all with Auroras, just waiting for the Super Hornet pilot to come around the corner, and they're going to jump him. And in that situation where those guys are using those tactics, the individual gun loadout on a Hornet is not going to be what determines the outcome of that fight. It's going to be the preparation, and the thinking ahead and the tactics employed by the Aurora pilots that's going to win that fight. So even though, a ship may be strong in an individual basis, it can be very good. I mean, if you're looking at a Super Hornet and you're thinking, okay, I want a ship with a certain amount of guns to go out and hunt NPCs, then yeah, the Super Hornet is a great ship, and it is in the end worth what you paid for it. But if you're not willing to put work into the game and develop tactics and develop know-how and a skill set to allow you to survive in the PU, it doesn't matter if you've spent $30 or $2,500. If you're playing like a complete clown, then you're going to get blown away, regardless of how many guns you've got on your ship or how many missiles it carries. And so when people make arguments that say things like the Super Hornet is overpowered, in a closed system like Arena Commander, the Super Hornet is definitely strong, and probably for Arena Commander's sake alone, the Super Hornet should be separated from certain other ships. But is the Super Hornet overpowered in the PU? It's not going to be overpowered in the PU. It's going to be just one of a myriad of tools that can be employed by players, and it's going to be how the players employ those tools that determines whether a ship is good or a ship is bad, and not dependent on the stats of the individual ship. So I guess in the end, that's all I really wanted to say on the subject of, ship stats and, all these arguments about this being overpowered versus that. It's really never going to come down to that in the PU. It's going to be more about, the kind of attitude you bring into the fight and the kind of attitude that you bring to the game, and whether or not you sit down at your computer and say, okay, I just want to shoot lasers and, YOLO around and just blow shit up. Or if you're going to sit there and say, you know what, I really want to take a careful approach to this, and I really want to, engage with other people and really develop a winning set of tactics to really enhance the gameplay and enhance my gameplay experience. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.